Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that is Stephen Howson, and today we are talking about Matheus Cunha. He looks to be the most advanced transfer of the United's negotiations so far this summer. He looks to be arguably the most we're going to spend on a single player as well, around $62.5 million for his buyout clause, which seems to be what United are willing to pay.
Not talking about going a touch over that and spreading it on the never.
I have seen some suggestions of that, but I think we're going to be in that £62 million region, whether it's
there's only a couple more, wasn't it? Like 65 to spread it or something.
So we're in that kind of ballpark. It's a big fee, and there's a lot to talk about with him. I want to talk about his play style. I want to talk about what he would bring in terms of confidence to the other players, in terms of goal scoring ability, off the field stuff as well, because there has been some, not controversy, but people kind of call into question some of his personality at times. I want to go through all that. But let's start with overall, quick summary. Do you like the sound of this transfer?
How many goals has he got this season? 15
in the league.
Right. No further questions.
That's a minute long, that. We'll wrap it up.
Realistically, I am a big fan of buying players from the league that you're already in. And that doesn't, no matter who you are as a club, I think if you're a Spanish club and you're buying, your Barcelona, Real Madrid, and you're bringing them in from Sevilla, Bayern Munich have always just swept up everything that's in the Bundesliga. Juventus for a long time just swept up everything that was in Serie A. I think it's a massively tried and true technique, because some players don't suit leagues. Some players do shine in certain leagues and not in others, and I can't explain it, and there's no pattern or rhyme or reason. Or if you definitely sign someone from the Bundesliga, they'll definitely... Don't work like that. It's on the individual. But one of the closest ones to a sure thing is someone that's already succeeded within that league. Like Alexis Sanchez, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's exactly what you got to do. Like I said, it's not a guarantee, but I think there's a greater hit rate with buying players, especially when they're hitting around that 24, 25, 26 sort of age. It's a good age to bring somebody in from the league that they're already playing in. And I think when you've been a consistent goal scorer like that in such a bad team, you can come to Manchester United and continue to score goals in such a bad team.
Exactly, and hopefully make us a better team in the process. So he is 26 years old, 25 years old. He'll be 26 by the time we buy him. If we are to buy him, we'd be 26 at the end of May. So we're buying a 26-year-old here, which, as you said, is a good age. Looking at his traits then, one of his best attributes is his ball carrying, taking the ball from inside our box to inside the opposition box. Numbers-wise, he's very, very good at that. Carrying the ball into the final third, he's one of the best in Europe in his position. And that's assuming you're calling him an attacking midfielder. If you're calling him a forward, he's literally one of the very best at doing that in all of Europe. We're going to be playing him probably as that attacking 10.
Hard to pin down in it when you're comparing what you're going to be, but ultimately he fits what we're going to play him as, I think. Yeah,
exactly. So he carries the ball very well. That's something that at the minute, other than maybe Garnacho, I do think we lack that. Is that an attribute that you think United are crying out for?
1,000,000%. I think we need it in the six. Someone that can get on the turn and move it 25 yard forward before releasing it into one of those forward players rather than just passing it that way. But yeah, absolutely. I think Diallo's very good at it. I'm still on the fence of where Diallo's going to play. I mean, there's not a million positions open to him. I think it's the right side 10 or it's right wing back.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much the only spots that you're going to see him deployed in. But I think he does it well. I think his carrying of the ball is fantastic. I think Cunha is similar in that sort of sense. I think he's more of a goal scorer than probably anybody that we've got in the squad. Not just on pure numbers. I'm on about like his instinct. Maybe not Garnacho. I think Garnacho's got the instinct. Like, he obviously wants to score goals. He takes shots like a goal scorer. He just doesn't execute. It'd be interesting to see how many shots Cunha's had this season actually compared.
Well, I can tell you per 90, he's averaging 3.63 shots per game in the Premier League. And I'll compare that to Garnacho quickly so we can get the comparison there.
I know Garnacho's took 81 for 4 goals, is it? 5 goals?
Yeah, 5 goals. So Garnacho's averaging 3.57 to Cunha's 3.63. So almost identical. Whereas Cunha's got 15 goals out of it and Garnacho, as we said, has got 5. The interesting thing about that, though, is, and I know you're not, you're someone that is interested in XG. Garnacho's XG is 9. Cunha's is only 7.78. So out of those shots, obviously Cunha's putting away more difficult chances or just, finishing better. But where they're hitting the balls from overall is of a similar level of danger. Does that indicate to you that Cunha's a better finisher than Garnacho, or does it suggest potentially, worryingly, that Cunha, who's 7 goals over his XG, might not be able to replicate that? Is that something that concerns you?
No, because I'd have to have a look at what he's done throughout his entire career, because these are strong trends. You see someone like, I think Raheem Sterling was a big one, Gabriel Jesus was another one. Players quite often massively outperform good ones, or bad ones, which was Sterling and Gabriel Jesus, massively underperform.
Yep.
And it looks like Garnacho is going to be one that's in the massively underperform his XG. And I think that's one of the measurements of XG that I actually think is relevant. You have a benchmark. Are you scoring more or less than you should do? More. Okay. It can be a one-off, and there are players that obliterate it one season and then never get close to that again. That happens. But you also do get good players go on consistent runs of just, even if it's only by 4, 5 or 6 a season, outperforming their XG.
Yeah. So on that, Garnacho, season in, season out, has underachieved against his XG. Not by as much as this season. Last season he was 2.8 under. This season he's 4 under. The year before that he was 0.88 under. Cunha, on the other hand, is a bit more of a mixed bag. Last couple of seasons he's overachieved against it. This season by more than ever. 7 more is massive. Last season it was around 2. The season before that it was around half a goal. So basically spot on. But basically since moving to Wolves, he is consistently outperforming his XG this season more than ever, though. So that could be a trend that he's just a good finisher. And also he's taking shots from an area of the pitch. Oftentimes you look at his highlights and his goals, they're 15, 18, 20 yards out, where if you're any good at them, it's quite easy to overachieve on your XG because they're so low XG.
Yeah, they're such a low one.
Yeah. Kevin De Bruyne's XG across his career is like plus 20 or something, or minus 20, should I say. He should have scored 20 fewer than he has because he's so good at hitting it from difficult areas.
Yeah, I think, this is obviously a Cunha-related video, but the issue with Garnacho is I think that his technique... We've spoken before about when players hit the ball, strike the ball, shoot at weird tempos.
Yeah. And
one of the best I've seen that people will be aware of, without going all Gerd Muller on you, is Mason Greenwood.
Yeah.
Mason, there's a rhythm to football. There's literally there's almost like an agreed dance of how and when. Yeah. And certain players, and I think Garnacho is one of the worst for it, is I think he winds up so obvious to shoot. I don't think he's got that deception in him. Whereas Mason Greenwood, he would hit it on a half step sometimes. And if you watch a lot of the way his goals go in, goalkeepers just go, because they there's this rhythm that football's played at where I can step, you can step, I can step, you can shoot, I can dive. And I think that's what hurts Garnacho in his shooting, is that the entire stadium knows he's going to shoot when he winds up to shoot. He's never hit one early. He's never hit one on the half beat. Whereas Mason Greenwood seemed to always just be like, bang, fucking hell, and it's in the back of the net before anyone's realised. And it's a skill and it's a trait. I don't think Cunha's in that ballpark. I think he just takes a little bit better decisions and better shot selection and doesn't just kind of spam his shots a little bit. Although the average being almost identical tells you otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's just a better finisher.
But do you know what? Even if you just took Garnacho out and put him in, based on that alone, he's going to get the same amount of opportunities, probably. I think his chance creation for others is significantly better as well. You would see United levelled up by at least 10 goals, just on the back of him. And that literally is how you improve your team.
Yeah,
you just level that single position up.
Yeah, so if you compare the two, so their expected assist, which again I know everyone doesn't love this stuff, but just as a rough idea of how many chances they're creating for their teammates, Garnacho's is 2.81 for the season. That's not per 90. That's for the season. He should have had 2 or 3 assists this season. He's had 1. Cunha, on the other hand, should have had 6.89 or 7 basically, and has had 6. So again, it's 6 times more in terms of the overall, but over double in terms of how much he's creating for others. I do want to talk about creation actually, because it is an area where potentially we might want a little bit more. I know that he's 5 or 6 assists is good, but you look at his stats compared to his peers as attacking midfielders and as wingers, putting him in that bracket. He's around average for the number of passes completed. He's slightly below average in terms of pass completion, which is something I do want to talk about in a second. Especially his long pass completion is quite low. His expected assist is around average. He's as a creator, he's not necessarily, statistically at least, in that elite bracket. Is that something that concerns you? Do you think we need someone that can put the ball on a plate for his teammates a bit more than Cunha can?
No, because I think as a team we create chances. I also think it is not the role of those number 10s, even though we sort of categorise number 10s as creators.
Yeah. I
don't necessarily believe that their primary function, especially if he's getting 3 times as many goals as assists, as a role, I don't necessarily think that it's his job to be creating assists. If you think about how that forward line is going to look when you're in the opposition box, and you pull out a quintessential Manchester City Pep Guardiola team, and you pull up Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool just for a template of how a team lines up in a final third, and where the chances, where the goals come from. With Klopp's Liverpool, Pete Klopp's Liverpool, he was looking at Trent being the very far right-hand side guy. That pushes Mo Salah into the box. Then you have Firmino, Mane and Robertson. You have 3 players tasked with doing what in the centre of the pitch? It's not chance creation, is it? It's finishing.
Yeah.
And then your chance creators actually is a little bit on Firmino, because they like the little round the corner ones. But it's Robertson and it's Trent. Yeah? And then you had a pretty functional midfield, 3 behind, and then 2 defenders. In terms of a shape going forward, then you look at Manchester City's, that's evolved a few ways. They've gone through the 3-2, the WM, but whatever. By and large, Manchester City's 5 is slightly different. It is winger, attacking midfielder, striker, attacking midfielder, winger.
Yeah.
And there are examples where Kyle Walker would underlap and find himself in that half space, of course, but their go-to sort of shape was always wingers would literally stand on the touchline. They would look for either underlaps, or they would find little reverses where they would cross from the half space, and then they would have a striker that absolutely shits goals, whether that's Aguero or Erling Haaland. Their assists come from the half space.
But they're almost playing like a 5 across the front kind of thing.
So do Liverpool.
Yeah.
And so will we.
Yeah.
And when you look at this Ruben Amorim sporting side, not the Manchester United side, because that just makes you want to fucking kick toddlers. But if you look at their sporting side,
speak for yourself.
You never wanted to kick a toddler.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. The sporting side and what he's trying to build with Manchester United, you have your striker.
Yeah.
Sporting, obviously, it's Gyökeres. You have your 2 number 10s, which has had a couple of iterations at Sporting, and I have no idea who it's going to be for Manchester United, realistically. And then you have your wing-backs. That's where the chance creation comes from. When you look at the goals that Sporting score, there's multiples of runs and angles of these guys in the box. The final ball, it wouldn't be coming from your Garnacho or Cunha. They would be tasked with getting the thing in the back of the net.
Right.
Obviously, with Sporting, it's Gyökeres doing the heavy lifting with that. But this is where the chances are coming from. All of these things are. If you take a snapshot, they look identical, but the execution of how chances are created is different.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that having number 10s do your creating, especially if there's going to be a way Bruno Fernandes fits in here, which you got to assume.
Yeah.
I don't think Cunha's required to be a chance creator primarily.
Okay.
I think when you look at the fact that we've scored, I mean, how many goals have we actually scored this year?
In the Premier League, I believe it's around 38. I'm just going to double check that right now. I think it's diabolical, is what it is.
Has Gyökeres
39
scored,
now. Apologies.
Has Gyökeres scored more league goals than Manchester United?
He scored again. I think he scored 38 and 30. I'll double check that and correct it if it's wrong. Yeah, he has 38 and 30. So he scored 1 goal fewer than Manchester United this season. And in all competitions, he's got 52. So he's an absolute just psycho monster in front of goal.
So even if he's not even close to being half as good, he's 5 times better than what we've got.
Yeah.
Maths.
With Cunha, another thing I think that's a big thing for him, he's flexible. So he can do different roles. He's played as a winger, he's played as a number 9, he's played as a number 10. Do you think that flexibility also, one thing is that the role itself is a bit of a hybrid, as you've mentioned. You're kind of tasked with being an inside forward and a creator a little bit all at once, but maybe mostly an inside forward. Do you think, let's say United sell Højlund and bring in Delap, and Delap gets injured, could you see Cunha playing a 10-game stint as the main number 9? Is that something that you think is factoring in here?
I hadn't thought of that actually, but maybe. And it's not even just a case of like he's out, different game states.
Yeah.
It's funny because people want to always build, what's your ideal 11? Well, who are we playing?
Yeah.
What's the circumstances of that game? Who's in form? Like, you never get to play your ideal 11 ever.
No,
you do have to sort of mentally recruit 15 or 16 to get an 11 out.
Mm.
And ultimately you do want to have cover where you've got essentially 2 for every single position. You kind of want to assemble a squad where you've got 2 names for each one, but 15 that you consider first choice that are undroppable. And I know people are going to be like 15 doesn't go into 11. I know it doesn't. But when have we ever had no injuries? It doesn't happen.
No.
Or someone that's out of form or needing a rest. It
or
it
a
doesn't
yellow
happen.
off a suspension or whatever.
It never happens. So that's what you've got to try and do, and that's what Manchester City have had and got, and that's to a greater or a lesser degree. That's what Liverpool have got. You see Jota coming off the bench for them all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know how far and away better than all of our forwards he is?
I know.
It's outrageous.
You've got players like Jota and Gakpo who you sort of think, I think Gakpo's got 16 league goals this season. And you think, like, he's a decent player. I think he's done well, and obviously they've smashed it this season. But, like, I think I wasn't pulling my hair out when we didn't sign him. And I still don't think he's a great player. But that's a more than functional piece in a successful puzzle, isn't it?
Yep.
Just moving on again, I think we've talked about a lot of his strengths
Done
there.
some writing here, you, Joe.
I have, yeah, I like right. I'm just getting my notes down on that. Looking at his potential weaknesses then. Because
Chow Mein.
No, no, it says Pep Klopp,
right.
Which is, delicious. No, one of his potential weaknesses that people talk about is his, I don't want to say personality, but some of the things that he does as a bloke rather than a footballer. Some of the fighting, some of the things that seen as maybe a little bit petulant. I think there was an indication and suggestion that he's sort of touting himself about social media a little bit. These are things that at Wolves people roll their eyes at and go, it's not great. At Man United, that can cause a reputation, a rift between you and the fan base. Also, we've seen it happen. Does that worry you?
Or it could be a cult hero.
Of course, it can go either way. Is that something, though, that you think United or yourself is going, we need to keep an eye on that?
No.
You're not even bothered?
No. Reminds me of Cantona. Personality didn't really fit at a small club. I think his personality could fit at a big club.
Yeah.
If it's going well.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, it's not really.
Because that's the thing, like Bruno Fernandes is our captain, and I think most of the time conducts himself like you wouldn't even notice him most of the time. I know people, but it's almost become this narrative that Bruno is a mardy arse bastard who's always throwing his hands around, who doesn't get, throws his arms in the air, gets over emotional when things are going wrong.
Oh, he does nothing on socials.
Yeah,
he's just does he post like family photos?
Yeah, literally post family photos and congratulating his teammates. There is a lot of depth below Bruno Fernandes in terms of how toxic and mardy arse someone can be. If we're losing 4-0 to Liverpool and he pokes someone in the eye and pulls the shorts down, that's not going to go down well, is it?
Right. Do you want the truth?
Yeah.
I am so fucking here for someone to do that.
Okay, well there you go then. You want it?
He's an argumentative bastard.
Yeah, he is.
Right. And TalkSport will dedicate weeks to him.
Yeah.
Already, they've already started.
Yeah.
On the fact that he might come to United. They're going to dig up so much dirt. It's going to look like Gobekli fucking Tepe. But realistically, that's character.
Yeah.
That was quite niche, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good.
There's 7 people in the comments gone, yeah, nice.
Google it.
And everyone else has gone, how do you even spell that?
Yeah, who did he play for?
It's Turkish. I fucking love character because that's the sort of shit, like, look at Martinez. Oh, he's a bit of a fucking hothead. Yeah, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I think it's about time that this fucking Premier League football at the moment is suffering. And it's suffering because of boring fucking sanitised wet wipes, right? Yeah. Give me a bit of flavour, someone that is going to poke someone in the eye, someone that is going to chat a bit of shit on social media if we win, right? Will it all come crashing down if we lose? Yeah, but who gives a fuck because we're losing? Give me the flavour.
Yeah.
I'd rather that than the fucking... You knew Anthony was a fucking wrong un when he's filming his Rolex while he's driving his fucking Lamborghini down the M6, and you're thinking, one, well dangerous, what are we doing? Two, you're supposed to have a fucking Rolex and a Lamborghini. It's not a flex when you play for Manchester United.
Yeah. You're earning 200 grand a week, you can afford a Rolex.
Yeah, no one's like, oh my God, where'd you get that from?
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah. I think I really like this transfer personally, and I think he's the sort of player that, like you said, age-wise...
What are you drawing?
I just drew
boxing stuff in so much.
At that point, I just drew a box around the words Steve and Cunha, which is just the overall sort of title of the vid. I just think he's the sort of player that could go on to the next level at United.
Yeah, I
think he's had a bit of a setback. He wanted to play for Atletico Madrid, I'm sure. It didn't quite work out there. He's ended up at Wolves. It's like second chance time with a team that is hopefully going to be on the rise.
Could it be Cantona-esque? Probably not. I don't think he's got that level of personality. I don't think he's got that level of world-class quality either. But does he level us up? Yeah.
Yeah.
And does he bring a little... Like, this team's too fucking nice. Can you see him hugging people in the tunnel when we play in Liverpool?
No. I can see him fucking chucking someone through the wall.
There you go. So, what's the right answer here? What would Keno like him?
Yeah. That's all you need to know.
That's the barometer of which everything should be thingied by. Yeah. Although he don't like Bruno Fernandes, and I don't understand why. He must have parked in his spot outside somewhere in town.
I think
it's got to be something like that.
Something like that, isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah, right. We'll get the truth. One day, on the overlap, they'll be like, Gary Neville will be like, so why don't you like Bruno Fernandes? And he'll be like, right, I'll tell you. He jumped in my Uber.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be something like that. Because Bruno tries too hard and is too good for Keane not to like him.
Unless he's doing that thing where he can only criticise him because he actually loves him.
Like Whiplash. Have you seen that film?
Whiplash.
Where you've just got to drill him to get the best out of him.
Who's that?
It's the drumming one.
The drumming one?
It's about drumming. And it's really good.
Yeah, it doesn't sound it.
Well, it is. Anyway, watch that.
No, I've not seen a film about fucking...
But he's getting the best out of someone by pushing him to the edge and maybe beyond. Maybe that's what Roy Keane's doing with Bruno Fernandes.
Maybe. Well, to be fair, since he lit him up...
Unreal.
He's been fucking outrageous, hasn't he?
There you go. Right, cheers, Steve. Thank you very much for joining us at home. That's how Cunha can fit into Man United and also what he brings to Manchester United. Get your thoughts in on this transfer in the comments below. We'll see you in a bit.